subcommittee's hearing. As I've said many times, the subcommittee is a nonpartisan committee. It is not a bipartisan committee. And I'm very thankful for my ranking member, Mr. Pappas, for adhering to that. We have 17 important legislative proposals to consider here today. It's important to note that not all of these proposals will move forward in the legislative process. A number of these proposals seek to improve education programs, accessibility to the VA and VA's home loan program. I specifically want to highlight 3 of my bills that are on today's agenda. My first bill will expand communication outreach methods within the Solid Start program by allowing digital communications so that the VA can increase the ways they connect with veterans. America's new generation of veterans, they oftentimes just don't want to pick up the phone, so we're going to get crazy and allow them to use text messaging. But we're not going to get rid of the other methods of communications that older generations such as myself are used to, which is a letter in the mail. So, in other words, this is additive. Another bill that I have today is the Refinancing Relief for Veterans Act. This legislation will reduce the fee for veterans who are using an interest rate reduction loan, or IRRRL. This bill would allow veterans an even less expensive way to get a mortgage with a lower interest rate. This would have the refinancing, half the refinancing fee associated with the VA home loans, making it easier for veterans to secure better rates. It's the duty of this subcommittee to get money back in the veterans' pockets when we can. My final bill is the Enhancing the Transition Service Members Experience Act, or ETS Act. This bill would make improvements to the Transition Assistance Program for service members leaving the military. This legislation would require data collection on the experience of transitioning service members. We need to have a better understanding of how we are preparing our military members and their families for civilian life. Certain military branches are doing TAP better than others, and those doing it well are setting their members up for success, and individual units are in the different branches are doing things better, so we're going to find the best practices. Service members leaving the successful branches will show the others the value of their military service. The Transition Assistance Program is actually, I view it as a retention and recruitment tool. So when the veterans know that we care about them coming in, while they're in, and while they're leaving, and after they're in their service, that's going to help with our recruitment and retention, because they go home and they tell their friends. Additional bills we'll consider would address modernization improvements to the VRNE program, VA home loan program, and the GI Bill. I have reservations about some of these proposals on the agenda today. The witnesses' testimony and questions from these fellow members will hopefully address some of these issues so we can make informed decisions and move forward with the process. We look forward to hearing from the members who are here and introduce these proposals, as well as our witnesses, on how we can continue to improve the bills and better the lives of our veterans. I now yield to Ranking Member Pappas for as much time as he would. Dr. Clark, I want to thank you for being here. I don't know what happened, but the DOD has been much more responsive to this committee, and I'm telling you right now, I appreciate it deeply. We've had issues in the past and we couldn't seem to line up, but you being here again is really, it's commendable, and I appreciate that. It shows a real commitment to making sure that we deal with the lifespan of the service member. I also want to thank Secretary Collins and Secretary Hegseth for signing an MOU to address this TAP thing. I mean, that's brand new, and we've been trying to get something going for a long time, and this is really important to Chris and me, and it was Mike, my friend, the previous ranking member. So we are moving forward, and I appreciate that greatly. How long have you been at the DOD in a civilian capacity?
This August, it will be 16 years.
Okay, awesome. Mr. Pamprin, how long have you been at the VA?
I've been at the VA, excuse me, since October of 2001. So
Since
23 and a half years.
Okay.
Or excuse me, yeah, 23 and a half years.
In this, right, for 23 and a half years, okay. So I'm a graduate of an online university, and I believe that we need to expand the benefits for accredited online education, and that I view that we are discriminating against students who are receiving monthly housing allowances to take summer classes online to complete their degree. And so what do you suggest for amendments to HR 3753?
Oh, I will
Like
defer.
no, you're here, Mr. Pamprin. So It's 2025. So you will answer this question, sir. And if you're unfamiliar with the subject matter, that's not okay. Can you answer this question, Mr. Pampern?
I cannot. I'm
Okay.
not an expert.
VA has given information to the subcommittee that there are veterans that have been on VRNE for over 20 years. Can you tell me your thoughts on the VRNE 8-year limit?
We support the proposed legislation. We do believe it will put,
Okay, how can we work with you for oversight? Because clearly that does not exist at this point.
we remain committed to working with the committee to do what's best for the program.
Well, I'm committed to grow my hair, and it's not working. So there's a difference between a commitment and action. Okay?
Absolutely.
And I'm not confusing motion with progress, and I think you are. Do you think the book stipend should be increased?
We do believe the book stipend should be.
Okay. When you're talking about HR 3384, in your written and verbal testimony, you say, additionally, the bill would result in costly and time-consuming system changes for both lenders and the VA. So what does that even mean? Okay, what does that mean? So costly system changes? You guys are faxing stuff back and forth still. And then if it's time-consuming, what do you guys do all day? Like, if you don't have time to do this, what are you doing? This is, I mean, that's just not okay. That's silly. It's time-consuming. It's your job, sir. Okay, so I appreciate the VA responded to a letter that Chairman Boss and I sent out at the end of last year regarding the VRNE program. Unfortunately, this letter is very concerning because the information regarding wait times and proper oversight of VRNE, which you are directly responsible for, not him. And after my staff has done more digging, you've now told us that there are individuals on the VRNE program for over 30 years. I want everyone sitting back there with one of those hats on that I've got in my office to understand there's people that have been on the VRNE program for over 30 years, 3 decades. And you've been in that seat since how long?
For the last 3 years.
Yeah, when's the last time you did an annual report on this because you're griping about having to do it for this other thing? When's the last time you did that? When's the last time you did an IG investigation? Is this person alive? Do we know these things? This is what we're talking about, the waste, fraud, and abuse that needs to be cleaned up in the VA. So again, you got a dude on VRNE since 1994. And can you explain to me directly why this is still happening?
Yes, I appreciate the question. This
It's not a
gentleman in
question.
question has been
Go ahead.
in the program, however, has been going in multiple points of interrupt, meaning they're no longer active, they're no longer receiving benefits or being paid.
Hey, we did our homework, sir. Mm-hmm. So listen, we're going to have a legislative hearing in July, and I'm officially putting you on notice. You will have answers for this. We're going to find out if these people are alive, because if someone's been on this program for 30 years, that in the intelligence business, that's what we would call a clue that there's probably malfeasance involved here. And with that, my time is expired. I recognize myself for 5 minutes. Mr. Petrie, can you just briefly tell us, what would the difference if we increase BAH? What would that difference make for our veterans?
With regard to the,
Full-time online. So full-time online students get half of the national average.
yes, sir.
Okay, what would the difference be? So if we would look at it from $1,118 compared to $2,237.
Yes, Chairman. And thank you for your question. So the financial change has a wide array of things that can happen for veterans, including financial stability, better housing options for themselves and their families, and the ability to sustain while going to school if The book stipend doesn't cover enough supplies for them while in school. So it covers a wide array of options, and we think it's a very positive change.
Okay. Before I got elected to Congress, Sarah Jane and I, that's my wife, we were living on my enlisted retirement. And I'll tell you right now, another $1,000 a month, if I was going to school on an enlisted man's, E8 retirement, would be game-changing. And I know a lot of people that sit up here and they're out there, they make a lot of money. And to them, $1,000 is lunch, not where we come from, right?
Yes,
Is that, were you a Marine?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you got a Marine and Navy guy. You got no Army guy. Schwartzman, what about you? Nothing?
No formal military.
Okay, let's work on that. You're still young, sir. Miss Hancock Lohman, last year your organization received $500,000 in unrestricted funds from TikTok. That's $500,000 in free advertising. Were you aware that ByteDance is owned by the Chinese Communist Party when you received that money?
Yes, we are aware that TikTok is owned by ByteDance.
Okay, so you're aware that your organization took $500,000 in unrestricted funds and $500,000 in free advertising from the Chinese Communist Party.
We're aware that we took $500,000 from TikTok.
Were you aware on April 24th, 2024, H.R. 7521 was passed, the Protecting Americans from Foreign Adversary-Controlled Applications Act? You aware that that passed?
Yes.
Okay, and then, so in November 11th, 2024, you took essentially $1 million from an organization that Congress said should not have any business dealing with anybody. Is that correct?
We took the money, and that money is unrestricted. There were no strings attached to it, and they do not have access to any of our information, but that money has gone to help our programs.
All right, so ma'am, the reason that we passed that is because that's what you just said is patently false. That is not accurate. The 120,000 folks that you've helped over the years, all of their personal data has been directly compromised to the Chinese Communist Party. So what did you use the 500,000 unrestricted dollars that you got from the Chinese Communist Party? Where did you apply those funds?
Sorry, pulling up my notes here. I was not involved in the conversations for doing so, but it has gone towards our Good Grief Camp and for programs to support our surviving children primarily.
Okay, are you aware that there's a ton of other organizations that took money from the Chinese Communist Party through TikTok, and all of them but you gave it back?
That's not
Excuse
correct.
me, that is not correct. Which one didn't? Right. So our Wounded Warrior Project and the VFW have given their money back. Okay, why have you guys not?
That is a decision above my pay grade.
Okay, so I just got to tell you, I understand the work that you're doing. I appreciate it, but sometimes we have to take the longer look at these things and understand that the Chinese Communist Party is not our friends, and that many of us who have served in active duty or on active duty status are putting our lives at risk trying to counter what the Chinese Communist Party is doing. And so I don't know if the good that you're doing and your organization is doing good things. I don't know if that outweighs the fact that you're being funded by our greatest geopolitical adversary. And I would encourage you very, very strongly to speak to your leadership and clear your books of that money. Okay. Hey, I want to thank both panels for coming here. There's more work to do. We will be holding the Veterans Affairs Administration accountable. We're going to be holding them accountable regardless of what administration is in place. That's because we're not beholden to the VA, we're beholden to the veteran. And there are people at the VA that have been there for a long time that seem to have forgotten that the VA is not about their job and it's not a jobs program. The Veterans Affairs Administration is going to make jobs program for veterans, not for bureaucrats. And I know that Mr. Ramirez and I, we, in a very bipartisan way, are hyper-focused on making sure that the people that have given us our freedom get every single benefit that they have earned. And with that, This committee stands adjourned.